I have been in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for 366 days. That's twice as long as planned, but in terms of a gap year, it's right on. And if you're wondering what would cause a 35-year-old woman to uproot her life in Los Angeles and move in with her mother in Pittsburgh for a gap year, well, that's a story for another video. But today, I want to talk about the 5 revelations that I've had in the last year about the differences between the two cities. I love Los Angeles and I love Pittsburgh. These are just my observations, and I'd love to know what you think. Number 1 is the astrology craze. So I can't speak for anyone but myself, but astrology had a grip on me. Okay, I had a podcast, I was doing tarot readings, I was in it. The Kool-Aid was fully drank, saturated, digested. I loved it. And I still think that there are some really interesting things to take away from astrology and manifestation and woo-woo and all of these like spiritual practices or wellness practices. But in LA, it's so second nature and so easy to kind of get sucked into like the crystals and shininess of it all that like, I don't know, I felt like my brain kind of floated away to like 15 different planets, and being away from that where like there's not a new crystal shop on every corner and all of your friends aren't going through like a life crisis and you're not going through a life crisis where you are like looking up at the stars first. It's been really healthy. Ultimately, I think horoscopes and astrology are just another way of archetyping our personalities, and that's really awesome to do. It helps us understand ourselves and each other, so it is rad. I still do a moon ritual here and there, but I've taken a step back, and I think that's really cool and nice to be in like a place where people have other outlets than the stars. The second difference I've noticed is a lack of color, and I mean that in a lot of ways. So Los Angeles is so vibrant, right? The people are bright. The style is bright. There's colors and street art everywhere. It's just so literally colorful and like alive and saturated. And that I think just shows in everything else. So it shows in like the demeanor people have and the way people carry themselves. And I just noticed the further you get to the middle, the more that saturation just depletes itself. And I've even in myself, like I wear way more black, as you can tell, like way more gray and just like neutrals than I ever did, and I feel like I'm not as inspired or like creatively challenged because I don't see a lot of that vibrancy, so I miss that. That's something I really maybe took for granted. Okay, the third revelation I've had is that I love seasons. When I lived in Los Angeles, I was an anti-season girl. It is the endless summer place. Southern California, it's just sunshine. A couple times a year you get June gloom with like a bit of rain, some wind, and that's why you go. You pay the sunshine tax to be with the sun. And I've never had an issue with that. I've not ever thought I was missing out when there's crazy inclement weather. I never thought I needed snow at the holidays or anything like that. This year has been amazing. I did not understand the resets that can physically come with being in new climates and watching the seasons of your life actually change. And maybe that's the woo-woo part of me back from Los Angeles, but it has been really physically and emotionally like moving to experience fall and experience winter and the actual budding of spring and have a visual representation of time that you just don't really get in Los Angeles. The last two, one is food. So food culture here, so different. In Los Angeles, I'm sure you can imagine, food culture is huge, right? There's a diversity of food, but I'm more so talking about the relationship and social constructs around food of like the judgment and just like fads and crazes that happen with food. If it's an acai bowl one day and celery juice the next, and you can just feel it. I don't know, in Los Angeles, food could sometimes feel like the enemy, and if you wanted to go to like a fair and eat a fried Oreo, people really were surprised. Now, I would do it anyways, but in Los Angeles, there's just so much toxicity around what you're eating, and you share so much of it, and like, I'm not explaining this very well, but food is more fun here. Food in Los Angeles is more educational and it's less stressful here. Now, do I miss having some of the options? Yeah. I miss smoothie shops. I miss better salads. I miss more diversity of like produce. That's a small sacrifice, but I do appreciate that like you can play with food and it's not as pressuresome. I don't know if pressuresome is a word, but it's the word I'm using. Okay, and then the last thing, which is pretty similar, it's on the same tangent, is body types. There is such an amazing array of body types and facial structures, right, everywhere in the world, from person to person. However, in Los Angeles, it can sometimes happen where people have similar features, similar faces, similar bodies. They may have been purchased that way, okay? That's no shade, absolutely no tea. I like the way everybody looks. And honestly, it's nice to be able to package a couple things up and, you know, get the body and face that you want. However, I think sometimes we miss out on those little quirky things that make faces and bodies cool and unique. And it's been really cool to come here and see people that don't all have fillers and don't all have different injections and booties and different, you know, just variety. I would say it's been the most consistently eye-opening experience and takeaway from my time. Like, we really are so unique and it should be celebrated. We're beautiful. We're beautiful. That's it. That's my takeaway, really. We're all beautiful, no matter where you live. But I am excited to get to know Portugal, get out of both of these places. I don't want to be thinking about Pittsburgh or Los Angeles for a minute. I want to get out the country and give you a different list of, I don't know, the difference between Pittsburgh, Portugal, and Los Angeles. Great food in Portugal. Why I love my life in Portugal. I don't know. I want to talk about that. So until then, I'm not going to bore you and talk you to death. I have an egg roll in my possession that I want to eat, and then I have to walk back home. But this has been lovely, and I'll be so surprised if this audio works out. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. Okay? Let's keep them crossed. I've probably said I love you 15 times that have been like edited out of this, so I'm just going to say it one more time. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.